In this lesson, we're going to be bringing in the species text and the banner that goes behind it. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and opened up that infographic split comp to save you a little bit of time just so you don't have to watch that trying to load up. I'm going to select both of those layers. So I'm just going to start over here at the side, grab that. Just make sure you only have the banner and the text selected, and then we'll copy it. So hit Control-C to copy. And then let's go back over to our main Coral infographic. And we'll just put this right on top of everything else. So I'll select that top layer that we have particular on, and we'll hit Control-V to paste right above that. And let's just scale this up a bit. So I'm going to scale it proportionately by holding Shift. So first start to scale up, then hold Shift, and that'll be proportionate. And I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger than it actually is. Let's go ahead and select both of those. We'll hit the continuously rasterized switch. Pull this down just so I can see where that's going. And I think that I would like for this banner to just be a little bit taller than it is. But if I just come in here and start dragging it like this, you'll see that that triangle really gets distorted. So what I'm going to need to do is take a slightly different approach. I'm going to convert this to a shape that is native to After Effects from that original Illustrator layer. So go ahead and right-click that layer, choose Create Shapes from Vector Layer. And now you see that it turned off the eyeball for that Illustrator layer and created this teal outlines layer for us that has that blue tag, which means it is going to be a shape layer in After Effects. So let's go ahead and drag this right above the old one, and we'll just delete that old one since we don't need it anymore. And I'm going to go down into the contents of that shape, and we're going to choose our fill. And you can see just kind of now we only have that selected. Let's go up to path, and this is what I want to change here. So I want these points right here to be higher, and then we'll just leave the ones at the bottom alone. So go ahead and grab your selection tool, and if you draw a box around one of those, you see that it has only that one vertex selected. So now I'm going to hold down Shift and draw a box around the other one. And then we can just drag straight up. I'm going to hold down Shift to make sure that I'm dragging perfectly straight. Okay, so now you can see that we made this a little bit taller, but we kept that integrity of that smaller little triangle without distorting that. And I still have my title action safe turned on, so I'm just centering this right in the middle of everything. And what I want to do is create a text effect for this little piece of text here. But right now, it is still just a regular Illustrator layer. So we're going to have to go in and make this a regular text layer inside of After Effects. So it's going to be exactly the same way that we did this earlier in the course. So I'm just going to do it really quickly so you don't have to wait. We'll change that to PFDIN. And that looks like it's probably either bold or medium. So we'll make this a little bit bigger. Bring that down to a 0 for the tracking. And right now I have adaptive resolution turned on. It's just a default. I'm going to turn that off really quick. That's right here. Just adaptive resolution, then change that to off. So whenever you're changing properties, you can still see what you're doing a little bit better. Let's make this just a bit bigger. And this looks like it actually is bold, not medium. So let's go ahead and push that up. That might be a little bit more bold than the original. It's kind of hard to tell. It's so close. Let's change that to 46 just to make it slightly bigger. And really, it doesn't have to be exactly the same because we made this banner bigger so that we could increase the size overall of everything. I'm going to go ahead and lock that fish layer. And if you want to, you could even just trim it just so you don't accidentally grab it. I would just grabbed it a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to trim it right there. So I'll hold Alt and hit end bracket just so after that point I'm not worried about accidentally clicking it. Let's go ahead and add another layer for that are a part of the reef ecosystem text. And we'll change that one to Adobe Garamond. Okay, let's make this a little bit smaller and give it 400 points of tracking. And I want to change both of those text layers, so I just shift selected them, and we're going to change their color. So let's just color pick that lighter color right there. And now that we have that all set up, I'm going to delete that original piece. And now we can just come in here and start moving these around, changing their size just so that it actually fits the motion piece instead of the print piece. Now I'm going to go ahead and change this to a center paragraph alignment so that it's going to scale out from the middle whenever I drag up that pixel size. And that looks good. I'm going to just stick with this line right here, just the inside of that line. And let's stick with the inside of this second line here for this other piece. Change that one to that middle alignment and then kind of move it back. Right about there. We can just scoot that over a bit just to make sure. And that really looks great right there. I'm happy with the way that is. Maybe kind of bring it up just so there's not quite so much line space in between there. And just kind of tweaking that to look like the original, but it's just a little bit bigger. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want this piece of text to come in with that banner. So I'm going to go ahead, select that piece of text, and we're going to parent its position to the banner. But because I changed the scale of the banner slightly, you can see if I hit the S key, it's a little bit different. I don't want that to ever accidentally interfere with the text if I ever want to change the scale of the text or the banner. And if I parent them, it's going to cause some problems. So I'm only going to parent the position of my text to the position of my banner. And it's really easy to do. Just bring up the position for both of those layers. So we'll go ahead and hit the P key for the banner and the P key for over. And this other set of text I'm going to do a little bit differently, so don't worry about that one for now. And we want to parent this piece of text to this banner. So go ahead and alt click the text position stopwatch and you'll get the expression pick whip, and then you'll just take the expression pick whip and parent that to the position of that teal banner. So now it's only choosing the position, it's targeting that. So you can see kind of how that looks now. And the position slightly moved when we parented that. And you'll notice that if I try to change the position, it's going to go right back to that original just because of the way that it's being targeted. But we can still move it up a little bit using its anchor point property. So select the layer, hit the A key, and then you can just move that right back up to where we had it before. And now whenever I scrub, that's going to move with that banner. But we need to go ahead and set some keyframes on the banner so that it's going to come into position when we're ready. So let's move forward on our timeline a bit. Right about here, I'm going to hold down Control so I can hear the audio.
Over 1 million species of plants.
So right about here is where I want that to start coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and key the position of the banner. I'm just going to set a keyframe here. We'll pull that forward, and then let's pull that banner up and off screen, just like that. And let's just have this come in over about 15 frames. So I'm going to hold Shift and hit Page Down. That'll be 10 frames. Then we'll move forward 5 more. That looks like that's just about right. Let's go ahead and this second key, let's add some intense ease to it. So I'll hit F9 and let's go into our graph editor and pull that back so it really just comes in nice and slow, just like that. And we may want to change the path of that little straggler fish a little bit just so it's more visible, but that looks pretty good for now. And I'm really happy with the way that that banner is animating in. You can see that the text is following it. You might want to just go ahead and turn motion blur on for those, just so you can see how fast the fast part really is moving. And let's go ahead and just add a quick effect to bring on that art a part of the reef ecosystem. Okay, so for the effect, let's come over here to our effects and presets panel, exit out of that, and we're just going to come up here to animation presets, choose presets, and come down to text. And let's go ahead and go to the animate in presets. And I want to choose, let's go ahead and do a drop in by character for this. So let's figure out where we want this effect to start based on what he's saying. I'm just going to hold control. So right about where he says R, so it's going to be right here. Now you want to have your current time indicator on your timeline wherever you want that effect to start. So we'll just go ahead and grab that and drag it onto the layer. And you can see that if I move the current time indicator, that's where that first keyframe was set. Now let's see where it ends. So right about there is where we want this one to be finished. So we'll go ahead, drop that down, and pull this keyframe back. Now, one of the issues is that you'll notice is that this is not quite completely off the composition. So we need to go into our advanced settings. We'll just come back here to our first keyframe and come down here to where you see the position, and we'll just pull that up so that that line is above the comp and we're not able to see it before we want to. So now if I scrub that forward, you can see now that's dropping in all the way from the top. And let's just go ahead and add some ease to that last keyframe. So you can select it, hit F9 to make it an easy ease keyframe. Then we can grab our graph editor and just pull this back so it'll be a super slow ease in at the very end. And I'll just show you a quick RAM preview so that you can see that.
Animals are part of the reef ecosystem. Animals are part of the reef ecosystem. Animals are part of the reef ecosystem.
So that looks pretty good. I'm happy with the way that drops in. And at this point now, we could go ahead and put this piece of text and parent it to our banner as well. And for this one, I'm just going to drag the parenting pick whip right onto the banner itself. And you can see that that works just fine. We don't have to do that one with the expression pick whip. And that one you would just have to be careful. If you ever did want to change the scale, you wouldn't be able to do it then. But you actually can't use the parenting pick whip because of that text effect. So you have to, or excuse me, the expression pick whip, because that text effect just doesn't allow you to use it. So it causes an error if you're trying to do it with an expression. So sometimes doing expressions with effects doesn't work. It just depends. You kind of got to play around and see if it's one that's going to work with it. But for now, I think this looks really good, and we'll be able to transition this out later on with both of those pieces of text, and we'll only have to have one set of keyframes for the banner. So that's going to be just a little bit easier to keep track of. So our next lesson, we're going to be just adding a little more life to this comp by adding our sea turtle graphic kind of up here at the top. So just kind of swims in and helps to reinforce that point of there being a lot of species of plants and animals in the reef. So stick around and I'll show you how to animate that in a convincing way in the next lesson.